Well, hey, podcast listeners, in episode 53 of the Pixar Post podcast, we're going to chat about Inside Out. Hey, wait a minute. Is this an old episode?
No.
Have we gone back in time?
Quite possibly.
No, we're actually talking about Inside Out because we recently had the opportunity to chat with the illustrious director and producer duo of Inside Out, of Up, and many other contributions across the company. Of Pete Docter and Jonas Rivera. Mm-hmm. So we had that opportunity to talk with them because of the upcoming AutFest. And if you're able to go, the AutFest is an autism awareness film-based festival.
Yes, that's the first annual.
The first one, yep, absolutely. And it's going to be this weekend, April 22nd, 23rd. And we totally encourage you guys, if you're in the Orange, California, or anywhere in kind of like that Southern California area, you should absolutely go to this if you can. So the event is at a local AMC theater, like I said, in Orange, California, and the tickets are totally affordable. It's almost essentially like just buying a ticket to the movies. Mm-hmm. You get to see a sensory screening of Inside Out, which has some, they don't dim the lights as much. There's some more intermissions. It's basically just showing you a better way to watch a film if you're autistic or if you have some type of connection to this. Mm-hmm. And then after it, there's going to be a Q&A session with Pete and Jonas. So, I mean, that's a pretty darn cool opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
If you want to have an opportunity to potentially ask some questions of them and see the movie in a more unique way and, just get more exposure to autism awareness.
Right.
So really kind of a cool event, and they're going to be receiving some honors, mm-hmm. Some recognition, which is why it's at this autism festival. We guess we should have mentioned that as well. So Ed Asner is going to be introducing...
Who voiced Carl from Up.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Is going to be introducing them at this event and giving them their honors.
Yeah, their award.
Their award. Mm-hmm. And then... of course, Inside Out isn't the only film that's being recognized. The Accountant with Ben Affleck and some other films. And then
I believe there's 9 total feature films, and then there's some shorts as well.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be some great awareness and additional opportunities that are there that pop up as well. So definitely check that out. Again, if you want to get any information about this, you can head to our website. It's, of course, just pixarpost.com. You can click on the podcast button, and this is episode 53 where you can find our show notes. We'll have links to the AutFest where you can buy tickets. We're going to have our more information about the interview, which we're about to play you, and then hopefully some follow-up information from the event as well once that actually takes place this weekend. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned for that. So this episode is a little different than some of the other podcasts where we're going to be talking more about one topic, being Inside Out, but I lie because we'll have a little bit of fun at the end too, and we'll continue our Ask Pixar Post segment where we have some actually like Disney-themed questions this time around.
Ooh.
Yeah, change it up a little bit, but it's actually pretty good. And then we'll also give some hints as far as some of our upcoming Cars 3 coverage that we're going to be offering on our podcast starting next week, where we're going to talk about our visit to the studio as well as Sonoma Raceway, some of our interviews and discussions with the filmmakers. It's going to be a lot that's coming up, all Cars 3 related as we get close to the June 16th release.
It's exciting.
It is very exciting. So let's actually just get right into the interview with Pete and Jonas and a little bit of the AutFest information. So in the discussion, we chat about what it means to have the film honored in this way, being recognized by the AutFest and getting this award. We touch on other questions which evoke emotion. So when we were writing some of the questions, we were thinking about that. So like we asked Pete and Jonas, you've been in your roles for a long time. Does criticism get any easier with having this tenure? And then we also, if you're seeking hints at Pete and Jonas's next film, well, you've come to the right place. Okay, of course I'm lying. I saw your eyes even look at me like, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, so the only hint, and it's a tiny one, that Pete offers, and we didn't ask, we're not one of we don't want to dig and pry for what they have coming up. But he said one just little teeny thing that registers. And if we're talking about like a 1 to 10 scale where a 10 is a bona fide Easter egg,
it's like
this
a
is
negative
1.
50.
Yeah, this is like barely on the register, but it's a super mild, high level concept of one piece of the story of the one element of the film that he might be working on. And it's so high level, it's really, you can't register it as an Easter egg, but I want to have some fun with it. So let's listen to the interview and then we'll chat a little bit more after it's done. One of the things that we found fascinating with Inside Out is that you guys obviously worked alongside Paul Ekman and studied some of the complexities of human emotions to accurately represent that element in the film. And here we are a few years later after the film's released, and it's getting recognized for the portrayal of complex human emotions in a thoughtful way by being honored at the AutFest. So what does it mean to you both to have the film honored in this way?
Well, it's really fantastic. We kind of got into this really, to be honest, because of the entertainment inherent in something like personifying joy and fear and all these guys. We were really, I mean, remember, Jonas, we were talking about the Seven Dwarfs, you know, and the sort of really strong, iconic type of characters that read just so quickly. And we thought, oh, we have something like that with this. But as we got into the research, we very quickly realized, geez, this could be quite a bit deeper than we thought. It has a chance to really talk about stuff that impacts us minute by minute every day, and yet is almost invisible to us in a conscious way. It just happens. You know, you don't choose to fear or be angry or whatever. It just happens to you. So it ended up being a really impactful film for me personally. I know it's changed the way we look at our kids, our own lives, and it's really made a big impact on us. And it turns out on some of the, we've been really amazed by the stories people have come to us with.
It's just to echo that. I think it's a great honor. It's almost even cooler that it's been a few years, because being asked to bring a film like this now, it speaks to the fact that it's hung on and it means something to people still in a deep way. That was our goal, really. I mean, right, Pete's right. We want to make something entertaining and fun, but you also want to make something that lasts, something that's going to be around a little while and not be disposable. And there was something with the movie, and I think personifying emotions, that touched a lot of people. And we were really pleased when it touches groups like this, like the AutFest, that there's something in the movie that people could relate to. And that's our goal. We want to make something that relates to everybody. But people that deal with autism, I think it was just personifying and giving emotion some sort of visual grammar and mechanics that just felt right. And we obviously did our research and dramatized it and caricatured it and so forth. But it just seemed to connect with people. And I think being asked to come to AutFest, it's almost like a receipt for us. Like, what we did meant something, and we're just really proud of that. The film lives on,
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, both of you kind of talked about the stories that came from people after this. Were there any of those stories that you heard that you're able to share with us that really impacted you and the team in a personal way?
We've had stories of people who have said that, for the first time, especially people with autistic kids who have trouble articulating and understanding what all this is, to have a character that moves around, that has a physical response and presence, and through the color, through the amazing voice acting that we were lucky enough to work with these amazing actors, and of course the animators bringing that to life on the screen. I think when we pitched this film, we got a lot of blank looks from some people. They're like, how are we going to be able to communicate this to, especially to kids? These are complex ideas. Mm-hmm. But by making it real and physical and putting it on the screen, we've had an amazing response from people. And like I say, I was remembering one woman whose autistic son, they watched it, and for the first time were able to talk about some of these issues that had been at the root of a lot of misunderstanding in their home life, and now able to point and talk and understand some of these things. Jonas is looking up something else too.
Well, there was the one, we got a lot of emails. We got a lot of emails from people. There was people that I know, my family and friends, that had gone through hard things, or divorces, or even death, that they said that our movie helped them explain things to kids, and that's something that you didn't go to the movie trying to do that, but that it was really meaningful. The one that I was actually going to look up, because it was a really amazing thing. Patton Oswalt, who was worked with us films and love. And I've only met him once. I think you know him a little bit, Pete. But he went through a horrible personal tragedy. He lost his wife, and it was an interview. I think it was an interview in Rolling Stone or something, where he actually quoted the film, taking his daughter to see the film as a way that he processed it. Yeah. And in a way, it was almost like the greatest reward in a weird way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so horribly sad, but the fact that he quoted something that we made that helped his daughter specifically, that meant a lot to us. And it was something that I really held on to. And a lot of.
I just got mail from this guy who we've been working with on a separate project, and he said I had the brutal task of having to do the eulogy for one of his closest friends, and he was in a car accident, and his daughter now is without a dad, and so somehow this film, because of his association with us, has become very central to her processing and understanding that sadness is not a bad thing to be avoided. So that's all of those stories. Just you go, geez, how did our little cartoon have this sort of effect? It's amazing.
Yeah. And to be fair, we may get a little more credit than we deserve on it all. Because we started off like, we just want to have fun and do the Seven Dwarfs in our own way and make a great animated film. I mean, we obviously dig for truth and emotion and all that stuff, but we sort of never dreamed those things would happen, that we'd get notes like that or read things like that from people we know and love. So it's really something.
Yeah, you guys, you and the team that made the film, I mean, even Up, you've got to get quite a few of those types of notes, because you guys really do push on that emotion button.
Yeah.
Well, that's the goal, yeah.
Yeah.
Make people feel.
Yeah.
Connect.
Yeah. In one of the first trailers of Inside Out, we were shown our first snippet of Cloud Town, with a roadway made entirely of blue-hued puzzle pieces, which reminded me of the Autism Awareness logo. Was this an intentional addition to the film, or was it just a mere coincidence?
It has to be a mere coincidence, unless someone in the art department was thinking about it. But I think it's just it's one of those things that just kind of lined up.
Yeah.
We just sat around and thought about what does imagination look like, and what would be specifically in the mind of this little girl, and where she's from, and brainstorm and riffed on things to create that world. We're big fans of Disneyland in a weird way. We thought about that, like Disneyland is sort of the greatest hits of your imagination in a way.
I wonder who designed the logo. We should talk to him.
Yeah.
Thought process.
Maybe they did.
Yeah. Speaking of complex things, looking at the filmmaking process from both of your own perspectives. So during the Monsters University press event, Pete Sohn did this great session where he talked a lot about criticism and how it's necessary in order to make a film, but that it's also hard to hear that feedback sometimes, since an individual artist or yourself or whatever has put so much thought and heart into their scenes, the layouts, etc. Is criticism something that gets any easier for the both of you now that you're more seasoned and in the directors and / producers chair?
Not really. I will say, having done this now for 30 years, you still kind of, okay, that's smart. And really that's a good sign if you hurt, because that means you care.
Yeah.
And that's obviously what part of the joy of making these movies is to just kind of fall in love with them and care deeply about them. So it's the thing that does get easier is that at least around here, people are giving you criticism because they care too. They want it to be better. They want it to be as best as it can be, and so they're not giving it to rip you down, to stab you or hurt you. They're doing it to try to help make the film better, and I think that's a key thing. Yeah, the sting never really wears off when people sort of give you notes or criticize the film, but that's just part of the grind here. I think the thing you do get with experience and time is that these films have seasons, and when you run the film and when you have screenings and you're getting feedback, if you're 3 years out from your release date, you kind of know what to expect, and then as you get closer, you're hoping you're scaling those notes down, and so I think at least although the sting doesn't wear off, you sort of, there's some comfort knowing, well, we have time to course correct, and that's why we do these screenings and that kind of thing. But yeah, if it didn't sting, it wouldn't matter enough. That's probably it's a good metric. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with the film being out for approximately 2 years now, after working so close on the project, looking back, is there any one particular scene that you two view differently, like with a different eye? Or is there a scene, a particular moment that you're very proud of after watching it after so many years?
Well, the one that sticks out as you talk, and it's not like laugh riot scene, but it's at the end when Riley finally comes home having decided not to run away, and her parents run up to her, and she just starts crying. That, you know, we talked a lot about the making of the film, about the emotions and how technically challenging they were, and just designing the whole thing was very difficult, and the whole mind world. That was really a very focused area, but boy, the animators who worked on that scene, they hit on such specificity and detail, and that scene really just kills you. You know, it's
a solo kind
in a beautiful way. Yeah.
I think when I look at it, I'm still most proud. I think of the scene where Joy comes into headquarters and kind of puts the memory in and watches Riley skate with her family, and she sort of skates. She's done this a million times. I love that scene because it's really the only time we see Joy and Riley on the screen together. You know, we created this movie about this impossible relationship that they were never actually physically, together. The one moment where we got to see them, and I always thought that kind of if you strip the whole movie down, that'd be the one scene you'd look at.
It's actually cool to hear you remember. Right now I'm working on a film that has an equally sort of impossible thing, and as you're working on it, you're like, is this really how are we gonna pull this up? This is impossible. A character who is in love with this character that they aren't even in the same reality, you know, this kid and her emotion, and how are we gonna do this? And then somehow you find enough tricks.
Yeah. I'll tell you another thing. This is here's something I was completely wrong about. Okay. And when I watch the movie now, I realize I was probably wrong to fight so hard. I was adamantly against the end credits, the bit where and of course it's everyone's favorite part when you go, if you remember over the credits.
With the dogs and the cats.
Yeah, the dogs and the cats and the clown and the driver. I swore I would have stuck my career that was going to ruin the motion of the movie. I thought this beautiful landing of the movie, and I just wanted it to be over. I lost that battle, and of course, and I had to live the last years of everyone tell me that's their favorite part.
I love the credit.
Yeah, well, I couldn't kill that part. I'm glad you liked it.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I will say that since we have you guys here and we're talking about emotions and everything, I will say without a doubt, the film that has impacted me the most emotionally has been Inside Out. There are several moments that, you think of scenes that hit you. You think of Incinerator scene in Toy Story 3. You think of the handoff of the toys and many other moments throughout the films. But clearly for the lead up, the whole lead up when Joy and Bing Bong are in the memory dump and Joy is looking at the memories and she throws them essentially behind her like they fall to her side as she goes to hold herself. That scene just completely, the animation on it, the timing on it, the music that Michael Giacchino did is just absolutely a complete masterpiece to me at that moment. And I find myself having to get control of myself.
Yeah, he cries all the time. We have a 3-year-old son, so we're constantly watching Pixar films.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
It's nice to you.
Yeah, thank you.
We're very proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, we thank you guys for the time. We can't wait to see what's going to come from the AutFest event and to see what you guys are up to next.
Yeah, we're excited. We were really thrilled when Matt Asner, it's part of the Asner family who we love. Mm-hmm. When they asked us, we were really thrilled about it. Yeah. So thank you for checking in. And thank you guys for doing what you do. We love you guys and really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. That means so much. We love it.
All right, so there you have it. Our quick discussion with Pete and Jonas. Always a pleasure to talk to those guys. What's the first thing that you said when we got off the phone?
How crazy it was to talk with them.
And that they're the nicest guys.
They are the nicest guys.
I mean, we have said it before on other podcasts that I could listen to Pete all day. Mm-hmm. I just love his tone and how he says things and how he thinks things through. Mm-hmm. And Jonas always has these just amazing insights, and you could tell that he's really listening. He's fully engaged all the time, and I love talking to them. I mean, it was like
You hear joy on the phone. Mm-hmm. Like you're just smiling. They just have they're very pleasant.
Well, and I love how they kind of rib each other too. Like, you'll hear Pete at some point go, yeah, that's right, Jonas. You remember that? And then he's like, yeah, I remember that. And
I know the way they work together. It kind of feels like they're like in a dorm. Like I wonder if their offices are close or if they share an office, because they kind of have that like brother.
That is, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, working on projects as closely as they do, you're gonna get some of that brotherly kind of talking and joking.
Like when we first started talking, it was like the ribbing.
Mm-hmm. Like you and it's fun. And you got to hear us giggle like, little teenagers when they were saying how much they enjoyed, what we do as well. And, it's always just...
That means so much.
Yeah, it's silly, but it's not. I mean...
It's not silly. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, we love hearing it from everybody because in our minds, we're always just so surprised every day that people care that we talk about this kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, we always look at it like we're just talking about what Pixar does. Mm-hmm. So it's just an excuse for us to be fans and have fun and talk to people about it. So we're always amazed when people, tap us on the shoulder or say, a nice thing, send us an email. So we really do appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And it's, fantastic when we get to hear it from that aspect as well. So at the end of it, I faded it out so you wouldn't hear us continue to go on about what we love, what we don't, and all this other stuff. And so we got to chat with them for a couple extra minutes. So it was really great. So stay tuned. We'll have more from the AutFest. Mm-hmm. And then also, as I mentioned, we've got some upcoming episodes of the podcast, which are going to be focused pretty squarely on Cars 3. We'll obviously have some other content that's sprinkled throughout there, as well as the Ask Pixar Post segment, which we'll get to in just a moment here. But just to give you guys a sense of what is coming up, I'm going to guess, I haven't gone through all of the audio that I recorded, but we'll probably have about 4 to 5 different podcasts of content that's going to be group interviews, one-on-one interviews from the different departments, similar to what we've done for the Monsters U, Inside Out, Good Dinosaur press events that we've been to. This one was a little different because we started out day one at the studio, got to see Lou, and then some of Cars 3. I won't talk about any of that yet. But some great conversations with Dave Mullins and Dana Murray from Lou. Got to talk to some of the other Cars 3 filmmakers, bumped into a couple other folks. I always like talking about who I bumped into. And then day 2 was at the Sonoma Raceway at a NASCAR track. If you were watching our Twitter, you certainly saw some of the pictures I was posting from the days there. But stay tuned. Lots of great insights to not only Cars 3,
but to the event as well.
But to the event in general. And then I can't wait to start sharing some of my thoughts on the film as well and how it's going to fit within the Cars world between 1 and 2.
And a theory that I saw from a trailer that was correct.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about that
Can't talk about any of it.
Yes.
But it's killing
soon.
me. So stay tuned for that. All right, so let's talk about Ask Pixar Post segment. In case you haven't heard it before, essentially what this segment is it allows you guys an opportunity to ask us any silly question or serious question that you might be thinking about. Could be related to Pixar, could be related to something else. We've had questions about favorite vegetables.
Yeah, favorite food.
We've had about, if you could shadow a Pixar employee for a day. We've all sorts of different kind of questions that we've come across. But this one question that comes up pretty consistently that I want to talk about. So since we've been asked by several people, I'm going to sum it up and just, basically just ask the question is, are we going to do at any point Disney coverage as well as Pixar coverage?
Yes, we do get this question a lot.
Uh-huh. And essentially, it's not something that we intend to do through Pixar Post.
Nope.
We want to stick in that lane. That's the studio that I fell in love with. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit more in the next question, but, that's the studio that I fell in love with, and there was something about it that was so different. There was other Pixar sites that I was reading that when they merged and changed and did different things that I didn't like it, and that was kind of the motivation for us. One of the motivations, there was many, but one of the motivations for us starting the site is that I wanted to get back to just reading about Pixar because it's the studio that I loved, and so I wanted to talk about it. So there is an opportunity that we might and I'm talking might be
Might.
looking into. It would not be part of Pixar Post, though, so don't worry. Pixar Post isn't changing. We're not
Nope.
doing anything with it.
It would be
It's
a
going to
total
stay
separate thing.
It's going to stay Pixar-centric, and if we're doing anything else, it's not going to be Disney-centric. We're not trying to just be another Disney site out
Nope.
there either.
Yep.
So, but nothing to announce as of yet. We'll let you know if we do get there. It's still up in the air.
Yeah. It's still on the whiteboard.
There you go. Yeah. So the second question came to us literally an hour or so before we started recording this, and it was something that usually, we try to answer them in an order that they come in. When we do, 2 or 3 per podcast episode. We've only started this for the last couple episodes, but we've gotten some good questions. And this one paired so well with the last Disney question that I wanted to include it. And it came just in an email from Jeff, our good friend from This Day in Pixar. So yes, I want to just reiterate, if you've submitted a question, we're not overlooking you. We'll definitely get to it. This one, just like I said, fit way too well. So Jeff asks, I'd like to know where your love of Disney came from. Were you young, older, etc.? Were you both Disney fans when you met? Or did one of you get the other into Disney more?
Oh, why don't you answer this?
Well, let's start with we'll break it down. So the
Okay.
first question of where did your love for Disney come from? You can start with that one.
When I was very young, my grandparents lived in West Palm Beach, Florida. So they lived, about a few hours away from Disney, but we went twice a year from I was basically 2, maybe 1.5 to about 18. Went twice a year. And yeah, I just loved it. I loved everything.
not
I
only
made
the
traditions,
parks.
not only the parks, but the cartoons. I mean, I'm talking like Gummy Bears, like the TV shows, DuckTales, all the 80s cartoons, all the 90s cartoons, all the films, the movies. We always went.
You had all the VHS in the clamshell, the white ones. You open them up.
Yep, everything.
Yeah.
I just loved it, and I have traditions that we still carry on to Disney this day from when I was a young girl. So I always have to buy one of those like round lollipops, the ones with the swirl, the giant ones. Like they're kind of like medium to giant ones. And we always have to have dinner at Tony's that first night at the Magic Kingdom. Something I always did with my grandmother, and it's something that we still do to this day. And then we've added new traditions, but I love Disney World.
Yeah.
Now, I've only gone to Disneyland once. We went in 2013, but I freaking love Disney World. I just love it.
You do. You
I
always
love
get
it.
sad when you come in. You always take a couple like breaths because you love the smells,
I love the smells. I love the chaos of it all, like the crowds.
the busyness. Yeah,
Yes.
not the chaos in
Not
a
the
bad way,
chaos.
but the
yeah,
busyness.
but the busyness. I just love it. I love everything about it.
Okay, so I'll even throw one in here. Do you have a favorite Disney animated film? Not live action, animated.
Oh, that's so hard.
Yeah. Well, you ruminate on that for a second.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about as far as, so where did my love for Disney come from? So going to Disney World, I had only been one time when I was very young. I basically did not remember it. The first time that I really got involved and knew it was when we went on our honeymoon. Because of
course we would go on our honeymoon.
Of course we had to go for a honeymoon. She was so hardcore in wanting to do this. I just said, okay, can we maybe go, somewhere around the world, Europe, something like that? And her answer is always
Epcot.
Yeah, it's got all the worlds.
Yeah,
It's got
Epcot.
all the countries that you can go to. So I was like, you know what? I do want to go. So let's go. I want to experience it.
Oh, and we did it right. We did 9 days, the Grand Floridian, main building, concierge floor, and we did the platinum plan, and that's when the dining plan accepted that it's included gratuities then.
So you didn't have to have separate money for tips and all these other things.
Yeah, and I think we talked about in the last episode, but that's when we ate at Victoria and Albert's.
Yeah, we did talk about our
And
experience
that
there,
was only a 1 credit dining
which is crazy to
way
think.
back then because we were on the platinum plan with gratuity. It was amazing. It was like $400.
2005 is when this is, just
Yeah.
for reference.
Yeah, 2000.
And then just all the other things we did. Horseback riding, parasailing, right. Lots of things. Had no idea that you could do all that at Disney. I just, I didn't have any of those expectations and I didn't know what it was, so it was very magical for me and it was a great way to start out at the top. I mean, staying at the Grand Floridian, doing all these adventures. I'm like, well, this place is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So she sold me pretty well on that. From the animated movie standpoint, my family was not one to own a ton of movies and have all that kind of collection, but animation was something that I was always drawn to. Mine started for me with the cartoons, the 7 or 8 minute Donald Duck, and anyone that included Donald Duck and his nephews. The ice hockey one is like one of my all-time faves. Chippendale.
Pluto's Christmas is mine.
Okay.
With Chippendale.
Oh yeah, anything Chippendale too, especially when it was Chippendale and Donald together. That was always a great one. But
and the bee one with Donald.
The bee
I
is
think it's the interior
classic.
decorating one.
It's a classic, you know. So that's really where it started for me, because we had the Disney Channel and we were late to get cable.
So were we.
In the 80s.
Yeah, so were we.
And it was one of those things
we would record them off VHS.
I had all these old VHS that I would set to like LP speed so I could get 100 cartoons on a 6-hour tape.
Those were the days. Kids these days. They don't know the struggles we had.
Yeah, putting in a recorder and having to be there to hit record.
I know.
But yeah, so I put together my greatest hits of those cartoons, and I would just rewatch those. And then from there, my sister started working at a movie theater in the late 80s and early 90s. And so I started seeing more movies. And when she was there, it was right at that the second golden era, the renaissance of, you know,
Little Mermaid,
Aladdin, all those
Beast.
films. So I mean, we were getting in to see all those movies for free, and I was like, these are really cool. So that was my first exposure to most of those. We didn't watch a lot of the classics. So mine came from the cartoons, then the films, and I respected them for that. I bought and I've talked about it before, The Art of Animation by Bob Thomas, and I started dissecting that, redrawing frames from the movies, and that's really how my art side of it came in. But I always respected it for the art, and I would sit there and I would watch it for the way the color was and how the cells were painted, and I always wanted to be a cell painter. And there was all these different elements that I was drawn to, but there was always something missing for me. The cartoons I loved on TV because they didn't have all the songs. And most people know I don't love musicals. It's not that I dislike them. I just don't love them. It doesn't draw me in as much. So the songs never meant as much to me as everybody else, which is, I know a lot of people think is totally crazy. So it was the art that drew me in, which is where Pixar blew my mind when I saw it. I mean, I've told that story. I don't need to tell it again. 95, seen it in the theater, just changed my world. So that's when all of the Pixar love came in there.
Well, I would have to say my favorite, if I have to pick one film, Disney film, that stands out, it would probably be Peter Pan. That's my favorite.
Okay.
A close second would probably be Cinderella, or as a kid, I loved The Rescuers. I really love The Rescuers, but like watching that now kind of freaks me out because it's kind of scary.
There are, yeah, it definitely has its elements.
There's some like jarring part, but I love Bianca.
So mine, I think, was kind of like the Beauty and the Beast, because that one was like,
I feel like there's 3 eras. I feel like there's the classics, then the new classics, and then the 2000s. Today, yeah, for sure. With Princess and the Frog, I love Princess and the Frog too.
Oh yeah, I mean it was fun to do to look back and start exploring hand animation again and what they could do with the story, what they were doing there. Those were cool things. But I still think Beauty and the Beast for me, just because there was something about that film with the art of it that I totally just fell in love with. That's why I really like that one. I mean, Aladdin always meant something to me, because that one was, I remember I saw that with my best friend, and when we were in the theater, the genie was just hilarious. I mean, how can you not love Robin Williams as the genie? So that one holds a special place. But if I think of totality, I mean, Lion King is amazing, don't get me wrong, and I do love the classics now. Lion
King holds a special place in my heart because I lived in Virginia Beach at the time, and we went on during summer break, if you paid, something like to go on this trip, we went to Disney World with middle school. And so,
Wow.
yeah, you've heard this because the bus caught on fire when we were coming back, and we all had to get out of the bus. But anyway, so my mom paid for me to go on this trip with a bunch of other kids, and we'd made our like a public service announcement when we were down there for TV. And like I had to talk about the Coke can, like what the recycling thing meant on it. It was really cool, but that's like when the Lion King merchandise was like really running rampant in the parks. But I bought like this pin set that came in like a wood box.
Oh yeah, you still have it.
And I just remember that when I think of the Lion King, I think of my middle school special trip that my mom let me go on. All by myself.
And that's why Disney and Pixar and all these films mean so much, because they're so good, you tie them to your life.
Yeah, life moments.
To moments. Like,
and that's when it was the Dixie Landings Resort. It was a long time ago. Because I think it's Port Orleans now. It's just a separate part of Port Orleans.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it was Dixie Landings back then.
Yeah.
It was like in the 90s.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, well,
obviously that's when the Lion King came
that kind
out.
of answers the other part of the question too, which was, were you both Disney fans when you met? We were, but at totally different planes. You knew World and the films. I was more the cartoons than the movies. So, yeah, we were both casual. Well, you were hardcore. I was casual. You made me. You lifted me to
understand. And it's just gotten worse. I mean, like, I know what the 180-day mark is.
When you got to book all your restaurants.
Book the restaurants.
What do you call it, your ADR day?
Yeah, ADR day. Disney Advanced Dining Reservations Day.
Advanced
Hello.
Yeah. It is fantastic to go with her to the parks too, because as you've been there so many times,
you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I don't. I literally go on vacation and I fully relax. She knows the full schedule. She knows there's no maps required. It's great. She's a personal tour guide, and it's I couldn't ask for a better experience at the parks because of it. She's like, we got to get over here. I know this shortcut. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah, it is fun.
So
I'm a fun Disney traveling companion.
Oh boy. Here we go. So yes, I think, like I said, that wraps up that question. But if you have any questions for us, we'd love to hear what you are wondering as well. Whether it's just something you love about Disney and you want to know our perspective on it, or Pixar, or whatever it might be. Some people have asked us some job-related questions. How could I get there? We can't really answer so much of those.
Since we're not there.
Well, yeah, we're not there. We don't want to misguide people. We can point out some resources, and that's what we do for those folks as far as, look at Pixar recruiting and those types of things. But any other curiosities you have, could be simple stuff, favorite characters, those ones are common questions, to something a little more in-depth.
Favorite Easter candy.
Favorite Easter candy, right.
Jelly beans. Only the red, yellow, and orange.
Well, nobody's going to ask that question now.
Well, it's a darn shame that Brock's doesn't make just a red, orange, and yellow bag.
They really should.
They really should.
Let's cut through the garbage here.
Those are the only 3 colors I like. And I look through the bags. When I'm buying them on the shelf, I bought like 6 bags. Those are the only colors I eat.
That's true. That is true. We have
spent like $20 in unused jelly beans.
Sitting in a giant bag. If anybody loves green ones, we get a lot.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if you have that kind of question that you're wondering, you can feel free to ask us at any point. We'd love to answer it. Send us an email, info@pixarpost.com. Complete the form on our Contact Us page, which just you can ask a question anonymously if you'd like. Leave a comment on our post, or ask us, of course, on any of our social media channels. We'll always answer them there. All right, well, that about wraps up the show. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, or subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Overcast, or Stitcher. Lastly, if you like today's show, I always say it, and I'm going to say it again, let us know. Rate us on iTunes. That definitely does help us, and we do appreciate the ratings and comments. Leave a comment on our site, or send us an email, info@pixarpost.com, as I've mentioned before. And signing off as usual, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And be sure to stay tuned to PixarPost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.